a lot of firms that are in a similar space have either spent the time to invest or have, if they have invested, it hasn't really been the best employee experience at the end of the day.
Got it. And is sort of Virtusa known as a good employer? The sort of attrition rates are lower than industry benchmarks? I mean, again, I don't need the numbers, just a high level sense of do they have a lot of churn and talent? Yeah.
I would say lower than industry norm.
Okay.
I would also say it's variable by segment and by industry. I mean, by segment and by technology stack, because areas like data science, as I'm sure you guys know, is a massive upward area. So people are moving around left, right, and center. That's just more industry specific, though.
Sure. Got it. Thanks. This is helpful. So that was on the engineering talent side. The other bucket I wanted to understand internally was sort of how is the sales practice kind of organized? Are there vertical guys? Are there horizontal guys? Is it all driven by industry verticals? And specifically, do you have sales folks who have like delivery knowledge as well? Like how is your sales team sort of organized to go to the market and acquire customers? Because we've heard actually very good things about sort of the client relationship skills of the account management teams. We just want to understand what the structure generally is.
Sure. So again, to speak to publicly available, there is a vertical and horizontal structure. So just like any kind of tier 1 to tier 2, typically the sales teams sit within the vertical team. That model has shifted back and forth a little bit over the last couple of years. But today, as I understand it from the last time that I was there, it was aligned to the vertical side. So things like account management sat, if you're talking about the BFS cluster, within the BFS org. And there was a stickiness factor, to your point, where an individual would be tagged to an account or accounts, and then they would be responsible for that relationship pan Virtusa. And then there's also individuals that may be focused on new logo generation. So there is somewhat of the good old-fashioned hunter-gatherer model where the hunters are focused on new logo. They sit with them for a very short period of time, but they always stay focused on the forward-looking and then push it over to the CS folks to grow the relationship and expand.
Got it. One other thing that we want to understand is, so we've been speaking to, different on the client side as well, right? People who typically get tier 2 IT service industry players. And one of the things that we're trying to understand is why is it that players like Virtusa, even in their key accounts, are never viewed as a strategic partner for the clients? They're always seen as a sort of a player who's good at a certain set of things, such as like, say, Pega. But it's very hard for that relationship to pivot to become sort of a more preferred partner, say, like Infosys would, right? Is it just a matter of scale, or do you think there's some other factors that kind of prevent Virtusa from getting to that level of a relationship?
I wouldn't say it's always scale. I mean, Virtusa is roughly a 20,000 person org, so
yeah, it's a $1 billion company. I'm just like, in a relative sense, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand why that pivot is hard.
I think a big thing that's really prevalent, and this is from somebody who's now in the industry, and as I work at a bank now, there's hugely restrictive covenants around who you can work with. So it's the classic procurement problem, right? So there's, if you're not on the list, quote unquote, it's nigh impossible to get somebody in the door, and organizations are not willing to sponsor a firm unless they have some either massive cost reduction or some massively specialized skill set that nobody else has. And to be honest with you, it is a commoditized market at this point. So from the standpoint organizationally, there's a lot of firms that won't won't put their neck on the line from a relationship standpoint to try to expand it, because either they don't feel like fighting with GPS or similar organizations. So I think it's not so much driven by the fact that they don't want to or cannot penetrate. It's more the model from a large enterprise standpoint is meant to try to drive cost reduction, and there's not a lot of opportunity for those firms to grow because, frankly, the firms that they're servicing are pushing them to that model.
So, but one thing we have heard about scale, right, from the clients is this sort of level of comfort thing, which is that I mean,